As I said, the last thing we're going to look at for this section is savings geared entirely toward retirement, where retirement is this old-fashioned idea, it's this thing people used to be able to do, where if they worked for a company for long enough, they could save enough money that they'd be able to eventually just decide to stop working and rest and relax on the fruits of all their labor through their life. Where, obviously, I'm making a joke here. A joke on how bad it is for modern workers, that most people may end up having to work until they die, because things just aren't going quite as far as they used to, and it's all so very funny. Ha ha! What a joke. But, stepping off of my soapbox for a second, due to a combination of medical advancements and financial insecurity, people are working longer and retiring later than they used to, but building financial resources in case of things like emergencies, or if you want to stay home and spend more time with your family, or if you actually do want to be able to retire at some point and enjoy your golden years.
You have done some good work, Dorothy, but not enough people like you. Sorry.
They are an important part of your future plans, where certain accounts and investments are geared specifically towards this through things called retirement accounts, retirement savings, where, according to the Investment Company Institute, about $35.4 trillion was in American retirement accounts as of March 2021, with a plurality of those being in things called IRAs. That is, $12.6 trillion was in what are called individual retirement accounts, or IRAs. And in particular, what's called a traditional IRA is a savings plan geared specifically for retirement, where you can deposit up to $5,500 per year for people under 50 and $6,500 per year for people older, and you don't pay taxes on the money that you deposit into the IRA, where you can start withdrawing from your IRA when you are older than 59.5, at which point withdrawals are taxed. Meanwhile, we have another type of account called a Roth IRA, where your deposits are taxed, but any withdrawals made after you turn 59.5 are tax-free. And provided that they are withdrawn after this deadline, the interest on a Roth IRA can avoid being taxed as well. So these are accounts you can set up specifically for your retirement, because you're not meant to access them until you're around the age that you would consider retiring. And then from there, you have certain employee-sponsored programs, where the two most famous ones are 401ks and 403bs. And
these aren't the droids you're looking for.
Because the names of these, even though they look kind of silly, they do look like they should be the names of droids. They actually come from the parts of the tax code where they were set up in the 70s in particular, where 401ks make up $6.9 trillion in the retirement market and are generally set up by private accounts, by private companies. Meanwhile, 403b accounts are given by public sector and nonprofit employers and hold $1.2 trillion in all of that retirement pile of money. And there are some subtleties between these types of accounts. It is possible to have both, depending on what types of jobs you're working and what type of job you are currently at, whether certain things get taxed, certain things don't. It's a bit rarer for a 403b to have payment matching. Usually 401ks are the only ones that do that, but again, there's a lot of subtleties in here in terms of where the money comes from, where it goes, how much goes in, how you're using it, what happens where, to get into all of that stuff in detail. The main thing to understand here is that these are plans that some employers will put into place so that they can try and attract and retain the best employees possible. And we're going to finish this section with a quick example on how these funds can be seen as coming together.